Hey everyone, Brayden here coming to you with another breaking Disney news update. As I really hate to say this, but the hits just keep on coming. People keep saying, Brayden, stop being negative. I don't make the news. It's not me, I swear. It's this company, man. Things are going off the rails. So get this. Over the weekend, we had the rather lackluster Destination D23 event. It was a great fan event in and of itself. The lackluster part of the event was the parks panel with Josh D'Amaro, where it was hyped up like he really had a lot to share. We recapped the panel in the prior video. It really wasn't a whole lot new or noteworthy. It was really a lot of stuff that we already knew. So anyways, following the conclusion of the event Sunday night, Disney said, all right, now it's time to drop the next thing on the fans. You already saw the title. You know what happened here. They nuked the Walt Disney World Annual Pass website, announcing that they will be pausing sales of new annual passes. If you recall, it was just a couple months ago, Disney finally brought back annual pass sales after a year of guests waiting to be able to purchase them. Disney introduced this new tier system featuring fewer perks and higher price tags across the board on all these different passes. They did some new graphics, some rebranding of the service, and then come yesterday, Disney just pulled the plug. First, all the tiers except for the lowest tier Pixie Dust Pass became listed as temporarily unavailable, and then the website was changed, simply saying that they were suspending sales of the passes. Also, if you already are a pass holder, like in the previous period where Disney wasn't selling new annual passes, you can still renew the one you have. So this new development that we have, it does not affect renewals, and you can also still purchase the lowest tier pass. Those are the asterisks there with what we're talking about here. But all of the rest of the tiers, the three biggest ones, Disney will not be selling those until they say otherwise. And we expect this halt on annual pass sales to likely last through the rest of this year because you have the holiday season coming up, and the fact that Disney did this at all, it sort of says that they do not want to be selling these into the holiday season here. And there's some out there that think that this could last into next year. I really hope that's not the case. We're about to get into the theories for why Disney would do this, but I'm hoping this measure is having to do with the busy holiday season, and then following New Year's, then boom, everything will be back to normal. I have to say, I have an interesting story to go along with this developing situation because I was there yesterday at Disney Springs at the ticket center renewing my annual pass, because before, I actually have it right here, I had the Platinum Pass. I've had this since 2018. Now that pass no longer exists. And all the new tiers, they're more expensive. They have less perks. I don't want to pay into the thousands with the Incredipass in order to maintain the main perk that I had with the Platinum Pass, which is no blockout dates. You can go whenever you want. So I decided to do a little bit of a compromise, and I went with this one. They're giving out these new cards now for the 50th anniversary. On this card, I have my Sorcerer Pass, which is pretty similar to the Platinum Pass I used to have, except there are a few blockout dates with the Sorcerer Pass. In total, with the Florida resident pricing and the renewal discount, this Sorcerer Pass cost me $813.66, and that was with tax included. So in order to renew my pass, I was there at the ticket center. I was standing outside. It was drizzling a little bit. Disney had all these guests sitting on the pathway in the curb outside of the building. What you do is you leave your name with the cast member, and then you have to physically hover around that immediate vicinity waiting for your name to be called. And that took about 30 minutes. It turns out it is definitely worthwhile, all those guests that were waiting around me, because you're looking at some of the last guests to purchase annual passes before Disney halted the sale of them last night. Think about that. They got in just right under the wire here before Disney gave us this breaking news. Pretty crazy to think about. So you're probably saying, okay, why would Disney do this? We're always talking about the CEO. People are saying, Bob Chapek this, Bob Chapek that. Bob Chapek loves making money. It's all about money. It's all about profit, getting profit wherever he can. Why would they pause annual pass sales they just brought back, forfeiting the thousands per guest off these watered down, more expensive new annual pass tiers? There are a lot of crazy theories floating around, like maybe it has to do with potential lawsuits over the lack of park availability, because Disney's selling a lot of these, especially the top tier pass, as something with no blockout dates, as in you can go whenever you want. Well, it turns out that's not actually true. One theory that I absolutely do not believe in, someone was trying to tell me that Disney suspended the sale of annual passes as a charitable service to guests because some dates in December are booked up on the AP calendar. So by not selling more passes, Disney is making sure guests aren't paying for days that they can't go. But I look at my park availability calendar, and especially earlier in the busy holiday rush, the holiday season here, there's many days in December still where not a single park is booked up on the annual pass calendar. So these theories, they don't really make a whole lot of sense to me, these ones in particular. You guys know me, where my mind always goes when it comes to this stuff. I love the fiscal operational side of the company because in my almost 10 years of covering the parks for you guys now, I've always found it's the best place to look to really gain a good understanding of why Disney does what they do, really explaining what you are seeing. The first thing I thought of, I speculated maybe the much hyped Q1 fiscal year 2022 revenues aren't meeting projections. So Disney suspending passes here to ensure anyone going next month considering buying an annual pass in order to do so, they are now forced, they have no choice, they have to use single-use tickets, which are a terrible value, cost an arm and a leg, so that way Disney can make a little bit more profit next month. But that scenario, it applies to so few people. How many people going next month don't have tickets squared away yet, right? How many people going next month were going to buy an annual pass when they got there? Probably a handful. We're probably talking maybe 1,000 guests, something like that. One theory I think does make some sense is maybe this has to do with staffing. If Disney is short-staffed for the big crowds coming this holiday season, likely some of the biggest crowds that we've seen since pre-COVID, and Disney has limited resources to work with, who is Disney going to give priority to? They're going to give it to day guests, resort guests. They spend more the days that they are in the park as compared to an annual pass holder. An annual pass holder, their spending is more evenly distributed over the entire length of their pass. The issue with this theory that Disney's discriminating against pass holders going into the holiday season here is if that were the case, why has Disney been selling all of these new annual passes leading into the holiday season? What do you think they've been doing the last 2 months? Even if Disney hadn't paused the sale of annual passes, likely almost all of the pass holders going in December, they would have already had their annual pass. So if Disney was so against pass holders going in December, why have they been selling these new passes to anyone who would listen the last couple of months? Also, Disney has the park reservation system where they can control exactly how many annual pass guests, how many day guests, how many resort guests get into the parks. They're called buckets, and they can move around the ratios to take advantage of each group of guests the best that they possibly can, where that way Disney can make the most money overall. Why do you think park reservations are still around? This is a boon for the company. Chapek loves it. Obviously, it's a way to collect a lot of data on you, where you're going, what you're doing, when you're going to be in the parks, how much food they need to buy, how much merchandise they need to order. It gives them a lot of analytics, a lot to work with in terms of helping optimize the park segment to make as much money as humanly possible. So if Disney is such a lock on the crowd situation and they can control it at such a finite level with this reservation system, why would Disney stop selling annual passes over this? Why would they not let you buy an annual pass when that generates additional revenue for the company? And this brings us to the scariest theory. I've seen a lot of the more cynical fans online talking about this one who have gotten very used to this pattern of bad news that Disney's been giving us lately. Could this be a combination of wanting to reduce the amount of pass holders going during the busy holiday season here for whatever reason, capacity, parks revenues, whatever the case may be, but compounding on top of that reason, a big part of why Disney's pausing the system is because Disney's real endgame here is another price hike on the horizon, where at the currently unannounced time Disney brings back pass holder sales, January, I would hope the prices are going to be even higher than they were when first unveiled with the new tiers just a couple of months ago. It's definitely a possibility. Disney CFO has talked about how they are looking at every mechanism at their disposal in order to help fight inflation at the parks. And when they say fight inflation, they don't mean keep the costs low. They mean fight inflation like how to pass the costs on to the guests, onto the consumer. I would speculate Disney does not like pass holders the same way they do regular guests. Annual pass holders, they get a good deal. For me, $800 for the Sorcerer Pass I got, even with the inflated prices and less perks compared to what I had before, it's a great value. Is that the problem? Is Disney going to just keep pumping up the prices until the pass holder program isn't such a good deal anymore? Maybe the reasons the pass holder system is so great and useful for many of us is what Disney hates about it. If you take the price of my Platinum Pass from this prior year and divide it by every day I went to the parks this past year, per visit, I was probably only spending $10 a day to be there, as opposed to a day ticket, which would have cost $100 or more. So think about it, with the annual pass, I was getting in for probably 1/10 1/10 what the regular guest was. Is that something that Disney likes, or do they want to inflate the price even more, sort of make it a little bit more expensive for me to do something like that in the future? Whatever the case may be, the suspended annual pass sales guests have had to deal with for almost 2 years now. We are back to that situation, Disney not selling passes after a very short reprieve here. I guess all we can do is hope following New Year's the passes go right back up for sale with no price increases. That would be the best outcome, but of course anything can happen here, as we know. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe with those notifications on. Thank you so much for bearing with us here. As I said at the top, the hits just keep on coming. I apologize for how the news has been lately. I've always done this because Disney news is supposed to be sort of an escape from the regular news, right? It tends to be quite positive, quite forward-looking, quite exciting. Disney's usually hyping us up with all sorts of stuff. Lately, it hasn't been that way. The news has been pretty negative, and I don't know if that's something to really feel bad about or guilty about. It's not me making the news, it's Disney, and I'm much more concerned with telling you guys the truth and trying to find the truth. You guys can pick up on the fact that when I'm giving you the speculation, the analysis, everything I hear from my sources, and I'm putting it all together and presenting it to you guys, I am trying to find what is actually true, what is really going on. And I think that's what's most useful and actionable, looking at someone wondering, should I go to Disney soon? What's going on with Disney? I feel like that's really the service I'm providing here. And giving you guys the real talk is really the best way to do it. So I really appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. Thank you guys so much for watching from the Mickey Mouse Magic Studio. This is Brayden. I'll talk to you again very soon. Have a magical day.